What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Fast. Today, let's get started with Michael Morales could be a problem for Islam Makhachev, claims UFC analyst. UFC analyst Michael Chiesa believes Michael Morales could be a real problem for Islam Makhachev in the welterweight division. Right now, Islam Makhachev is on top of the mixed martial arts world. He successfully retained his UFC welterweight championship against Ian Gary, and in doing so, cemented himself as a fighter who will now feature in the greatest of all time conversation. Morales is the biggest guy at 170 pounds. He is the biggest welterweight, so the size and the wrestling, I think that could give him more problems than Prates. Morales at times can be a little bit wild, but his wrestling chops, size, and physicality, I think that could pose a big problem for Islam. Do you agree that Morales could give the champ problems? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Alexander Volkanovski's coach discusses potential retirement after UFC 333. Alexander Volkanovski's coach Joe Lopez has talked about the great possibly retiring if things go south at UFC 333. At UFC 333, Alexander Volkanovski will defend his UFC featherweight championship against Movsar Evloev. While it may not be the most thrilling fight in the eyes of the masses, Evloev has certainly earned the right to get a crack at the world title. However, after Volkanovski hinted that he could retire if things go poorly at UFC 333, his coach Joe Lopez had his own view on the subject. At the end of the day, it's his decision, not mine. We'll discuss it with him obviously and go through it, but knowing Alex, if he loses, he'll go, I don't want to go out on a loss and I want to come back and get it back. Come back on a win. I just know how competitive he is. I just know the way he is, so it's a fine line or a two-edged sword that we're playing here. I was happy after the first Diego fight. I would have been happy if he went out then. The thing is, Alex always comes in well prepared, and he's looking probably better and stronger than he has done in a long time. Do you believe Volkanovski will retire from mixed martial arts this year? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Merab Dvalishvili shares the unique challenge Petr Yan presents in UFC 333 trilogy. UFC bantamweight champion Petr Yan will return to the Octagon to co-headline UFC 333 against two-time foe Merab Dvalishvili later this year. Before the loss to Yan in their rematch, Dvalishvili was thought of as one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, a title he'll look to reclaim later this year at UFC 333. But according to the man himself, Dvalishvili learned a lot from the rematch in terms of everything that encapsulated the pre-fight build-up. I have one of the toughest challenges in front of me, and usually I do very well when I know I have a tough opponent and challenge. I'm working very hard, but now I'm trying to be smarter. I was working hard for the last fight, but wasn't taking breaks, and I was just burning myself out. Petr Yan, he'll never be an easy fight for me. I knew that before, but it surprised me how good he is and how hard he hits. What is your prediction for Petr Yan versus Merab Dvalishvili? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Charles Oliveira hasn't been offered a fight amid the UFC 331 booking of Arman Tsarukyan versus Mauricio Ruffy. Charles Oliveira is hoping to fight one more time in 2026, but he says nothing has been offered yet. Many were expecting Oliveira to fight Arman Tsarukyan in a rematch with potential title implications. Instead, Tsarukyan has been booked to fight Mauricio Ruffy in the UFC 331 co-main event. Speaking to Biagalev, Oliveira said the status of his next fight is up in the air. I don't have any fight booked. No opponent has been offered to me. People keep throwing names out there, but I don't have anything. The reality is that I want to fight again before the end of the year. I want to have one more fight. Oliveira captured the BMF championship when he defeated Max Holloway via unanimous decision back in March. The fight was uneventful and didn't have the fireworks one would expect from a BMF title fight, but Oliveira got the job done by a wide margin. Now he awaits to see what the UFC brass has planned for him. If you were a UFC matchmaker, who would you book Charles Oliveira to fight next? Give us your answer in the comments below. Carlos Prates suggests a fight date and famous location in new message to Islam Makhachev. Carlos Prates has publicly claimed he's been promised the next opportunity against the welterweight champion. The prolific finisher is pushing to face Islam Makhachev before 2026 is over, which leaves two possible dates for the matchup. On Saturday night, the dates and locations for the final major UFC events of the year were revealed. UFC 334 will take place at Madison Square Garden in New York on November 14th. A month later, MMA's premier promotion promotion will complete its calendar year with UFC 335, which is set for December 12th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. A day after the UFC 334 and UFC 335 announcements, Carlos Prates sent a message to his next potential opponent. The Brazilian tagged Makhachev in a UFC 334 poster and suggested they headline the event at New York's most famous arena later this year. Islam Makhachev is just a week into the recovery process after one of the most demanding bouts of his career. It doesn't seem like he'll be returning to competition anytime soon, even though Carlos Prates wants to see him back in the Octagon soon.